So my
Cool.
name is Alex. I have an Instagram and YouTube Love Sugar Show. So I want to thank you for taking your time for doing this interview. I did listen to it twice last night, and I have to say I wasn't sure what to expect. But I have to be honest with you. The start of the album did give me a little bit of trauma with the dial-up because it took me back to the old days where you're waiting for your computer to dial up. So
hmm
why did you choose that to go with?
I think it goes along with the overall theme of internet, computer, stuff. I'll punt on it a little bit in that this is mostly like Spencer's brainchild. He's just really loves that like hacker computer culture kind of stuff. He was very adamant. He's like, I have to start it with the dial-up connection. It's gonna be awesome. It's like, okay, it works, it fits. Yeah. So
So everyone from that generation is probably going to have some trauma because we haven't heard that in a long time.
I know yeah, I heard it for the first time. I was like, wow, yeah, it's been a minute. So yeah, it's pretty funny.
Well,
Funny to think about how it used to be.
Here to look cool. Actually, believe it or not, the reason I'm wearing sunglasses is not to look cool. It's because I left my real glasses in my mom's car. Well, okay, so it's a difficult concept. I feel like to convey to people without showing them images and videos and things. But as a child of the '90s, I growing up through that and seeing the rise of computers and the internet, hacker culture, and sci-fi films and things like that. Something that has always evoked a lot of interest for me has been, that like retro futuristic
mm,
cyberpunk kind of aesthetic, right? And so when I was going into this, I wanted to create something that was cool and evoked that kind of vibe. The like Hackers 1999, Lawnmower Man, the shirt that I'm wearing right now, that kind of thing, right? And so I was like, what's cooler than dial-up modems? We've moved a long way past when that was, relevant, but I still think that there's a cool aesthetic to be found there.
yeah, and some trauma too, because you have to
Yes,
wait for your internet and sometimes it wouldn't connect or someone would
absolutely.
call you or you have to get off because someone's calling.
Uh huh. Somebody needs to use the phone, so they're like, hey, get off the computer so we can make a phone call. You know.
Yes.
Yeah, that the truth. I mean, I can't say we're not better off having moved on from that, but it's still fun. It's fun to think about. We've
Yeah,
things have changed a lot in the last 30 years.
very true. And a question for both of you is how's everything going? Not just in music, but also your personal lives as well, because that's important too.
I would say it's going pretty well. I mean, things are moving very quickly, right? And what's interesting is that Justin and I we've played music together a lot for many years. We first played in bands together when I was 15. Justin was 16, I think.
Yes,
Uh,
there were a couple of years. Yeah, yeah, 17, whatever. Yeah,
yeah, something
very
like
close
that.
in
But
age.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a long time, and now I mean we're older than that. I don't know if you noticed, but you know, so it's been really interesting. We've gone our separate paths in terms of like musically and playing in different bands and things like that, moving to different places. I mean, currently we live thousands of miles away from each other, but one of the cool things of this about this project was that we got to reconnect and make some music together again for the first time in a long time. I mean, the last release that we put out together was in 2013, so that's it's been a long time. But having done this with Justin, it has been really cool to get closer again after some time doing our own thing. So I would say it's going pretty great, if you ask me, because we get to do this cool stuff. We're at a point in our lives where like we can put time and energy into something just because we want to do it, not to try to become rich and famous, or not to try to follow childhood dreams. It's just like, hey, we have these skills, we have this technology. Let's make it happen.
Awesome. How about you, Justin?
Things are good. Yeah, just working on music stuff. This being one of the projects that I have right now, and my wife and I are expecting our first child here pretty soon, so that's exciting. So it's just been a lot of work and hanging out with the dog and working on the house, working on music. I don't know, kind of like a no news is good news thing, other than, having a baby soon. So
Don't forget to
I
mention
think
the name of your dog, though.
the name of my dog,
Yeah, because he has a
his
cool
name is
name.
Jacques.
Aw.
Yeah,
Hell
Well,
like
congratulations.
thank you. I appreciate it. It's yeah, it's been quite the journey for sure. But yeah, echoing Spencer's sentiments, about working together again. It's been really awesome to reconnect, and I've always loved working with Spencer musically on stuff, and we kind of did our own thing with our personal lives for a while, but always stayed connected. And
Mhm.
Hmm.
he had this idea, and I was like, "This is amazing! Let's make it." Showing me demos with programmed drums. I'm like, I would totally play drums on this. We have to do this. So,
And you say that a lot, but I don't often take you up on it. This time I was like, no, we're doing this. We're doing this. We're making this happen. You know.
So, how would you describe this album to someone who hasn't listened to it or hasn't really like heard this type of music? Like, what kind of like emotions would you say that they would hear, and how would you describe it to them?
Well, it's really aggressive music. I mean, it's kind of like a it's always hard to describe music without talking about like other music and like music nerd crap, like genres and things like that. But to break it down in a really simple way, like it's aggressive music for fans of aggressive music. Um, there's some dynamism to it. Like like it's not very one note. There's a lot of different styles that we're pulling from for this kind of a thing.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's aggressive music for aggressive music fans.
it wears a few different hats. It's like it is kind of hard to describe at times. I don't know. I often think of it as like very muscly, kind of like
Yeah,
threat. I don't know.
yeah.
It's I don't know. Like Spencer said, you get into all these specific subgenres and different descriptors or whatever. It's like I don't know, muscly mid-paced thrash, like with you know some other things kind of sprinkled on top. It's hard to describe your own music. I think
Yeah,
Yeah.
just in general.
that's definitely the thing. You never want to like be name dropping other bands unless you're trying to do a thing that's explicitly like those bands. Uh, so it's and then also it's never fun to really compare yourself to other musicians, at least in that context. You know what I mean?
Yes. And one thing I did notice about the album is it seems really fun. Not only in like the titles, but the track names, which are like, pretty much I feel like my worst enemies ever. Like Y2K Killer, like I don't want that. 404, I don't want that. Cyborg Criminals,
Yeah, that's true.
Binary Hurts. What was
Yes.
the idea behind that?
Well, each of the songs are kind of about different things, but it all kind of comes from that like 90s cyberpunk milieu, if you will. So things like I pull a lot from authors. I'm a big fan of books. I like reading, which who says that in 2026, right? But I love reading books, and I love like sci-fi books in particular. So the authors that I found really influential are like William Gibson and Neil Stevenson and so many more, right? But pulling
Mhm.
from that kind of stuff, I was able to like put some things together. I always thought it would be really fun to do a song where, okay, in the case of 404 specifically, I just got to say, and this is silly, but I always wanted to do a song where the chorus is 404, your life is not found anymore. So I just thought that was a silly and fun thing to scream into a microphone, and it just so happened to work with the music. I don't know. It's so I'm a guitar player more. I mean, as evidenced, but I'm a guitar player before I am anything else, right? Like, and so when I put together lyrics, basically I just figure out like what I can scream over a guitar riff while playing a guitar riff at the same time, um And so I just tried to make it that. So I started from that, and then I was like, okay, we've got that. We've got the patterns that I can do here. And then, like, what are cool fucking technology words that we can throw in here that sound cool? Like, and we got there. You know what I mean? But yes, no, there are a lot of things you don't want. I mean, Y2K Killer, it's a spin on the BTK Killer, right? But instead, it's about computers, computer
Yeah.
murder. Yeah.
And anything to add to that, Justin?
Not exactly. I mean, the content of everything I have entrusted with Spencer almost entirely. This has been mostly his vision in terms of lyrical content. I've just loved being a part of it.
I'm an
I think it's
aesthetic
awesome.
man. I'm really into aesthetics, and I'm really into like any project that gives me artistic freedom to like create something that I think is really fun and cool. And I've been grateful to work with people like Justin that let me do that because uh, I don't know. I find that it works out more often than it doesn't.
Hmm.
And maybe that's just getting lucky, but we'll see.
And since this album is about like tech and computers and things like that, have you had anything really bad happen to you, like tech-wise? Has that inspired or traumatized you at all?
I mean, I feel like we are all both inspired and traumatized by computers. Like, and that is essentially, I mean, I feel like you hit the nail on the head. Like, that's the exact ethos here. We are inspired and traumatized by them, and part of dealing with that trauma, and especially the trauma of like how everything is connected these days. Everything is computers, and it's all kind of bad all the time. Uh, a part of the way that I'm, dealing with that is like making something like this where it's like harkening back to a more optimistic time with computers where computers were like both awesome and cool but also scary because nobody knew about privacy, nobody knew about like strangers tracking you on the internet and things like that. Like people didn't know about that on a grand scale, right? And so part of dealing with the trauma of today is trying to do something inspired by better times. And maybe those times weren't exactly better. Maybe I was just younger and my perspective was more optimistic, but uh it's fun to imagine things being nice again.
Yes. How about you, Justin? Any trauma or did this album like have anything bad happen to you?
Not that I've had anything bad happen to me, but just I mean, like Spencer and I both work on computers, for like our day jobs. So it's like, I don't know, I kind of feel like I'm in this tech prison all the time,
A tech
and
hell, if you will.
yeah, pretty much. So I agree. You can be inspired and also enslaved by, all the stuff that you're surrounded by all the time. And it's a weird push-pull
Certainly
relationship
can.
that is difficult at times, but nothing exactly traumatizing. It's just hard, man. Some days to get on the computer again and I don't know, just be glued to something like that. I try to put distance in between me and the tech hell
Remember
as
when
often as I can.
remember when computers were enormous and they were difficult to move out of a house or take with you, things like that? Wouldn't it be great to leave and not have a computer in your pocket when you leave your house?
I mean, they have those flip phones. I don't know how good
Hey,
they
yeah,
are.
dumb phones. Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm here for that. Maybe I'll get a
Hmm.
dumb phone one of these days. If it would help me spend less time on my phone, that would probably be a positive.
I mean, they have that QWERTY keyboard. I don't know about y'all, but I miss my 90s phone. So
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. It was a good time. It's a good time.
maybe that's the
Snake.
next album. It's going to be about cell phones instead of computers, right?
Maybe. It's not a terrible idea. Absolutely.
So all of these songs, like I feel like they're very unique, very different from each other. If you had to pick one song that's like the heart of the album, that kind of like the album could not be without, which song would that be and why that song?
Y2K Killer. That is the song I would pick. And the reason being is because that is the song that inspired this thing to happen. I wrote that song by myself in 2020, in the early days of the pandemic. I was out of work at the time, or like my work was closed, so I just wasn't working. So I had a lot of time on my hand, and I wrote a bunch of songs. Like I didn't have anything to do, so I just sat in my house smoking weed and writing death metal and well, thrash in this case. But I was just writing music, and I wrote a bunch of songs, and a bunch of those are still unreleased. I still haven't done anything with them, but that one stood out to me as like in that group of songs, that was the one that was the most interesting musically, and the one that I wanted to play live more than any of the other ones. So that was the inspiration for all of this. It was the first one that came together, and then everything kind of fell into place after that. So definitely that one. I'm fairly certain that was the first song of this that I showed to Justin, and so yeah, there could be no other answer.
How about you, Justin?
I was gonna say 404. 404, 404 speaks to me like I guess I don't know, like musically, I feel
Yeah,
like it encapsulates most, if not everything, that's like kind of happening throughout the entire release.
that's true.
That yeah, personally, that's what comes up for me. But I think the first song you actually showed me was Cyber War Criminal,
Oh
I
yeah,
think.
yeah, nice. That
Yeah,
was
because
another
that's
song that I wrote by myself.
yeah, but yeah, that's what I would say.
Hell yeah.
And why 404?
Well, like I said, musically, I really feel like it groups in everything that sort of happens on the record. And I don't know, just like what it's about. It's like 404, your life is not found. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hell
It
yeah.
just, I
Hell
don't
yeah.
know. It just symbolizes like what we're kind of talking about here,
Absolutely
with
does.
the tech hell. But to me personally,
And like that song really came together because that was the most collaborative song that we put together. That was the one that
Hmm.
had like the roughest structure when we went in to record it. And so recording it and like getting that figured out, like really, it just helped it all come together in a way that the other songs were maybe a bit more, you know, already kind of there.
Yeah.
hmm
That one needed some massaging, and so like everybody having all hands on that, like really, it made something special. I definitely think that one came out pretty special.
And since you guys were working on it together and you guys sound like you have like a really solid foundation, what emotions were you trying to put into this album?
Uh, having fun, dude. Like honestly, that's the thing more than anything else is I wanted this to be fun because listen, I listen to a lot of music and I love music and I'm not talking trash about music right now. I just and I because I listen to a lot of music that I would call not fun music, but
Yeah.
I feel like these days like there's kind of a dearth of fun music. I or music where like the primary idea behind it is to have something like fun, have a good time listening to, and so that's it for me. You know, have a good time.
yeah, it's. I was just thinking, it's like I thought it was really cool to be a part of something that had like a pretty specific theme. Um, And
Hmm.
so, yeah, I mean, I agree. Like just having fun with it. It was like it's like serious music, like a serious sense of musicality, with like a not quite so serious. Like I don't know. Like it's if you could be somewhere in between fun and serious, like this is what it kind of feels like to me. Because it like there's a theme that is pretty relevant, but it's also kind of silly, like at
Yeah.
times. But I don't know if that makes sense. That's kind of how I feel about it. Having fun was the goal here. Yeah. And also just like putting my imprint on it musically as like a player, like I have specific like isms as a drummer that I've developed over the 20 plus years I've been playing the instrument, and it was cool to be shown something at first, because Spencer showed me these demos and there were programmed drums on them. And, I kind of took what was there, but also did my own thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just fun.
Sounds like another podcast episode. Is this song fun or is it not fun? Is this album fun or not fun?
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, and like that's the thing though. It's like not everything needs to be fun all the time. It's perfectly fine and perfectly great to listen to stuff that's not like fun and more, you know, oh, we're doing a serious thing. We're serious guys, and these are dissonant, these are dissonant songs. You know, nothing wrong with that. I listen to a ton of that kind of stuff, but you know, for everything that we had going on. It felt like the right time to do something fun.
So for this album, when I listened to it from start to finish and then start to finish again. One thing I noticed, the first time and the second time is the amount of raw energy in this album was insane. Like you can tell that you both are enjoying it. It's fun. It's a great album. Where does all that raw energy come from?
I'm addicted to writing as many riffs as possible for songs, and then because like I don't know, I have something wrong with my brain. You know, like I'm very inspired to make songs way too complicated and with way too many riffs. But thankfully this time, I had my buddy Ruben who co-wrote three of the songs with me. He's not here today, but he was very influential in terms of helping me like simplify these songs and keep the energy up and keep them fun without becoming distractingly technical, which is a thing that's been a problem for me in the past. Like I've played in tech death bands. Like I have played hyper complicated, super fast riffs for most of my life, you know, and it's really great to have somebody that's like, hey, you know, that's a really cool riff, but if you made it simpler and then played it three, four times, like would it probably be really fun. And just that perspective of like having somebody like, you know, throttle back Haas, you know, when it gets a little too crazy, is really helpful, you know.
Yeah, I
But
feel like Ruben's influence was really, really helpful in that regard.
super helpful. I cannot overstate how much he helped me keep the energy up, you know, and but without making it too much.
Yes. And I have to say I'm a little jealous. Like I'm terrible at guitar, but when I think of playing guitar, I'm like, let's make this as simple and easy as possible, you know?
Yes. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
How about you, Justin? Where does your raw energy come from?
Um, I feel like I already have a lot of like built up angst in general as a person. And I think it translates through my playing pretty often.
Hitting the drums real hard.
Yeah, it's just the way I have played for a long time. I just like it. I'd rather give 100%, 110%, always than, I
That's a
don't know,
good.
than not.
That's a good way to describe your playing is giving 110% always. You know, I've played a lot of shows with Justin, and you know, I've seen this dude get so sweaty and so angry at the drums at times, and it's always inspiring, you know, because not
Yeah,
everybody has that level of like raw ferocity, you know.
I feel like it's always kind of been there too. I can't really describe it. I mean, not to sound like kind of boring or cliche, but it's like always been that outlet for me,
Yeah.
is to put that energy into something like as hard as possible. It's just extremely rewarding. I I don't know. I don't know a better way to put it. Like it's just a natural kind of instinct for me to play that way.
Yeah.
And what comes to mind too is like the setting in which you are playing or like especially recording is
Hmm.
really important. And it's kind of why I kind of lobbied to go record with Greg Wilkinson. I've recorded with him a handful of times and I've always enjoyed his environment, his studio,
His
working with
energy
him.
is really valid and
Yeah,
really
I
helpful.
feel I feel as though every time I've recorded with him, he's just been super supportive of being like, just do you, and like let's capture it, and it's going to be great. So I kind of feel like there are no like handcuffs ever, like working with him. So I feel like a lot of the energy came through from feeling comfortable, if that makes sense, in that setting. So
So
I
good
don't know.
vibes, good people, good location.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. But generally, that's how I approach my instrument, and I don't feel like it will change. So,
So during this creation of this process, recording process, what would you say was like the hardest part for you personally?
do you
Okay,
want to go
question.
first, Spencer?
Sure, sure. Dude, the hardest part for me was okay. So this is a kind of a long answer, but I'm going to make it really short. So what happened was we recorded this thing, or we recorded the guitars, bass, and drums in March of 2025, and when I came back to Austin from recording in Oakland, I had homework with me, and that the job for me was to record the guitar leads and the vocals, and then send them to Greg. However, I decided to I decided to buy my first house and also remodel it by myself. So
Oh,
it,
but
it ended up being actually super insane. It was I'm in this house now. As you can see, it looks kind of like a house. So mission accomplished, I guess. But it was actually like super insane to juggle all of that. And meanwhile, in addition to all of that, like Justin and I were working on doing a reunion show for our old band from a million years ago called Corrupture, and we were doing a reunion show in Anchorage, Alaska, playing with Guar last August. And so it was like this big thing. It was a big outdoor show in downtown Anchorage. And we hadn't played a show in 14 years. In addition to buying my house, remodeling my house by myself, and recording the guitar leads and vocals for this, I also had to go through and figure out all of the parts for all of those songs, those old songs we hadn't played in 14 years. And then I had to tab them out and make demo tracks for everybody and corral everybody and make sure that everybody got there and we had it all figured out so we could do the show. It was a whole thing. It was a really crazy few months. So like, to answer your question, the hardest part of all of this was all of it. Was that period of time, getting everything done in one summer. It was a lot, man. All told, it probably took me, only a few hours in to do the leads and the vocals, but like fitting that stuff in and making sure I was able to like get good sounding takes and recordings and everything on top of everything else was really crazy. But the,
Hmm.
the end results speak for themselves.
true.
Yeah, finding the time within all that. Yeah, it sounds crazy.
It was insane.
I feel like my experience was definitely a lot more relaxed. I mean, the hardest the hardest part for me was just I don't know, like any other situation. I feel like musically, you have to spend time, memorizing stuff and deciding on parts and like what's this, like what's this going to be? What do you want it to be? What do you not want it to be? I don't know. I'm an overthinker in a lot of creative situations, so I just tried not to do that. That might have been the hardest part is just trying to not overthink things and
It's real.
like try and put focus on the sum of all the parts rather than my part in if that makes sense. It's like
Yeah.
straddling that fine line between like taking ownership of my contribution but also keeping in mind like okay, what is this supposed to be as a whole, if that makes sense.
Yes, very
Sure
much.
does.
So, with that in mind, what atmosphere were you looking to create with this album? Because it sounds like in your personal lives and music life, so it was kind of hectic at that time.
Yeah. So like, man, controlled chaos, to some extent, but like, pulling from and harkening back to a lot of things that have been influential to me in years past, right? Like, because I mean, we're pulling from everything from like classic thrash and death metal to like new wave of British heavy metal stuff, power metal, U.S. speed metal and things like that. And this music kind of sits at a weird like juncture of all of that. And so the idea is to create something that is both familiar but also fresh, right? I mean, I feel like that's what everybody's trying to do to some extent or another, but like that's the goal here: familiar but also fresh.
How about you, Justin?
Restate the question again. I kind of got lost in Spencer's answer. I was like, oh wow.
Yeah, that's deep.
Yeah.
What atmosphere were you looking to create with this album? Because it kind of feels like in your music and personal lives at that time it was chaotic.
Um, almost like anxiety in musical form in like a weird way. I don't know. Like, yeah, I don't know if that even makes sense, but that's what comes to mind. Um, just the weird relationship that we have with the things that we feel like we need all the time, like the tech shit and just like wanting it, but not wanting it, and like the things it can solve and the problems it can create. And I don't know,
Yeah.
putting those feelings into the project the best of my ability. So I hope that makes sense.
It's almost like a relationship. Sometimes you really like that relationship and sometimes you don't. It's like, but you also need it, but there are aspects you could go without, I think.
Absolutely. Yes.
Especially with tech.
Yes.
So for this next question, I'm curious, if this album were like a soundtrack for a movie or game, what would you choose and why would you choose it?
Oh, that's a really interesting question.
The soundtrack for a movie or a game, which ones would they be?
Okay, I have a really specific answer. I would say a mid-series X-Files episode. That is my answer.
Is
Uh
there like a tech in this episode or how
Well,
would this?
so that's the thing about the X Files. They were not immune from that thing in the '90s where there was like hacker stuff, computer stuff everywhere, and they did like quite a few episodes that like border on, and in some cases go fully into like cyberpunk territory. And there's an episode. I think there's two episodes written by William Gibson, one of which is called First Person Shooter, which is a really cool episode, and I would say that one is probably what I would choose. Like that's an episode where there's a VR video game where the villain in the game infects the real world, which is a very cool, like an evocative concept for me,
Yeah.
and definitely the vibe that I'm going for with this kind of stuff. In fact, I might steal that idea for a song later on. This is pretty
That's actually pretty cool. Yeah.
good.
A game that comes up would be something along the lines of like F-Zero or like Wipeout, like
Yeah.
some
Dude,
crazy
Wipeout.
like
Yes.
yeah, like some wild ass futuristic racing game.
Well, even
That's
though it should not go without. Sorry, it should be said. Wipeout has its own very iconic soundtrack, which is amazing of electronic music. But yes, I completely
I would
agree.
say
That
so
is
does
totally the
F-Zero.
vibe. Oh yeah, that's a good point. F-Zero too.
I
Yeah,
mean,
especially the GameCube one. That one has sick ass music.
hmm
Yeah.
I don't know. When I was listening to the album, I was thinking about it being in like a Guitar Hero, and I was like, man, the song would be so hard.
There's like that like open source like Guitar Hero clone. I think it's called Clone Hero, and where you can like where it's just Guitar Hero, and you can control it with actual Guitar Hero controllers, but you can load like custom songs that like people have made of like popular songs, and you can make your own. So that might be a fun thing to do at some point.
For sure. And I will let you guys both announce where listeners can listen to this album when it comes out, the name of it, and all of that fun stuff.
Awesome. So the band name is Scatter. That's Scatter. The release is called Tech Hell Cyber-thrash. It drops June 12th, 2026, everywhere. Anywhere that you can stream music, you should be able to stream it there. For now, we have a single streaming on Bandcamp, and that can be reached at our website, cyber-thrash.org.